Night shift nurse Alex finds purpose beyond routine when he learns of his elderly patient George's single regret, a love lost at sea. Teaming up with his friend Kate, Alex embarks on a heartfelt search for George's long-lost love, uncovering life's hidden truths about timing, courage, and second chances. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. The quiet night felt like a rare gift, though Alex wasn't quite sure what to do with it. His shifts usually kept him running, but tonight the halls were hushed, the patients asleep, and his duties light. The dimly lit corridor stretched ahead as he texted his friend and roommate, Kate. She was his go-to for everything, from sharing funny moments to venting on tough days. They'd been schoolmates once, but only last year, when they both responded to the same apartment listing, had they finally gotten to know each other. Living in neighboring units had transformed them from casual acquaintances into close friends. Just as Alex was sending Kate a sticker of a yawning cat, a nurse approached him. "Alex, George is asking for you," she said with a warm smile. "Thanks," Alex replied, slipping his phone into his pocket and heading toward George's room. George was 88, but brimming with energy, more vibrant than many half his age. George also had a wealth of stories, having worked as a sailor in his youth. As Alex entered, he found the old man eagerly shuffling a deck of cards, his face lighting up at the sight of his visitor. Alex pulled a chair close to George's bed and sat down, eyeing the deck of cards in George's hands. "Couldn't find anyone to play with?" he asked, smiling. "Everyone turned me down. Can you believe it?" George replied, shaking his head with a grin. "Well, it's 2 a.m., so I get it," Alex said, settling in. "Why don't you try to get some sleep?" George shook his head. "I just can't fall asleep. I could ask the doctor to prescribe something," Alex offered. George chuckled. "Alex, I'm 88. I've had more than enough sleep in my life." Alex laughed and took the deck, shuffling it. He dealt the cards, and they played quietly for a while. Then George laid down a card and glanced up, his expression shifting. "Dr. Martinez told me I only have a few months left," George said softly that Alex's heart sank. He saw patients face death often, but it was never easy, especially with George. "Oh," George smiled gently. "It's okay. I'm ready. I've had a long, full life. No regrets, well, except one." His voice drifted off, eyes distant. "What's that?" Alex asked, leaning forward. "There was someone I loved. We met on a ship, but we had to say goodbye." Alex raised an eyebrow. "I thought women were bad luck on ships." George chuckled. "His name was David Smith." "That's unexpected," Alex said, smiling. "Did you ever try to find him?" "No. It's been too long. I doubt he remembers me," George replied. "You never know," Alex said, just as George laid down his last card. "Looks like you lost," George announced, grinning with triumph. Alex laughed, already reaching to shuffle the deck for another round. When Alex got home in the morning, he found Kate leaning sleepily against the kitchen counter. She was still in her pajamas, sipping coffee slowly. Working from home meant she rarely rushed. "Hey, how was your shift?" Kate asked, rubbing her eyes. "George got some bad news," Alex replied, setting his bag down. "He found out he only has a few months left." "Oh no, that's so sad." Kate's face fell. "I like George." Alex nodded, knowing how much Kate cared. She'd met some of his patients before when she volunteered. George especially liked her and often teased Alex, asking why he hadn't asked her out. Alex usually brushed it off. He'd had a crush on Kate back in high school, but now they were just friends. Dating might make things complicated, especially since they were roommates. "George told me his only regret is not being with his true love," Alex said. I want to find him. Will you help? Kate's eyes lit up. A love story? I'm in. She poured herself more coffee with a grin. In the days that followed, Alex and Kate worked together to find all the Davids with the last name Smith. After hours of searching, they managed to narrow it down to 6 possible matches. That's still a long list, Alex said, scanning the names. Are you kidding? Kate replied, laughing. When we started, it felt like there were a million Davids out there. Now we're down to just 6. A million, huh? Alex teased, raising an eyebrow. Well, close to that, Kate said, chuckling. They shared a smile, enjoying the rare moment of progress. We can start visiting them on weekends, Alex suggested. It'll be easier when I don't have work. Sounds good to me, Kate agreed, nodding. Just then, her phone buzzed, and a wide smile spread across her face. Did you win the lottery? Alex asked, watching her reaction. No, it's Troy. We met at a conference, Kate explained. He just asked me out. I think he likes me. Alex paused. And do you like him? Maybe, Kate said, grinning as she walked to her room, phone in hand. Alex watched her go, feeling a strange pang he couldn't explain. For the next 2 weeks, Alex and Kate met with 4 Davids, but none turned out to be George's long-lost love. David number 1, a cheerful older man, was happily married with kids, grandkids, and even great-grandkids. David number 2, a spry gentleman, was engaged to a woman 3 decades younger, a detail Kate and Alex found surprising. When they tried to meet David number 3, they discovered he had passed away years ago. Finally, David number 4, who claimed he had sailed many seas, eventually admitted he'd never actually set foot on a ship. After each visit, they sat with George, sharing each David's story. He listened quietly, nodding along but showing no spark of recognition. Just give it up. It's hopeless, George muttered, his voice tired. Nothing's hopeless when it comes to love, Kate replied firmly. And we still have 2 Davids left. One of them has to be yours. George looked away, sighing. What if it's David number 3, the one who's already passed? His cough grew rougher, a reminder of his weakening health. Come on, George, don't be so pessimistic, Alex said gently, patting his arm. The next week, Alex and Kate set off to meet David number 5, a fisherman living by the docks. I have a good feeling about this one, Kate said as they drove. Oddly, so do I, Alex replied, smiling. When they finally met David number 5, Alex and Kate learned he had, in fact, been on the same ship as George at the same time. Do you remember him? Alex asked hopefully. He was maybe a bit of a pessimist, and he was really good at cards. Kate jumped in, adding, Oh, and you were in love with him. David number 5 looked at them, shaking his head with a slight smile. Sorry, but no. Doesn't ring a bell. Kate's face fell. Well, that's disappointing. Seeing their letdown, David number 5 offered, How about I treat you both to lunch for your trouble? Kate brightened. I'd love that. I'm starving. I know just the spot, David number 5 said, smiling as he led them out of his house. As they walked, Alex noticed Kate pulling her sweater tighter, shivering a bit. He remembered how he'd reminded her to bring a warmer coat, but instead of saying anything, he slipped off his jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. Out of the corner of his eye, Alex saw David number 5 watching them, a small, knowing smile on his face. You two make a lovely couple, David number 5 said. Oh, no, Alex stammered, his face turning a bit red. We're just friends, Alex and Kate replied at the same time, exchanging a quick, awkward glance. After lunch with David number 5, they headed home, feeling tired. It's a shame he wasn't the one, Alex said. I really thought he was. Or maybe he just isn't brave enough to say it, Kate replied thoughtfully, Alex headed out alone to meet David number 6, feeling a bit strange without Kate by his side. She was out with Troy, so it was just him for this visit. David number 6 greeted Alex with a bleary gaze. It didn't take long to realize the man struggled with alcohol and couldn't remember much of anything, let alone George. As Alex was about to leave, his phone buzzed, a message from a nurse. George was in critical condition and might not have long. Without hesitation, Alex texted Kate. David number 6 is a no-go. Heading to the hospital, George is in bad shape. He didn't expect a reply, knowing Kate was likely still on her date with Troy. But as he arrived at the hospital, he spotted her standing by the entrance, arms crossed and eyes searching for him. "Kate?" he asked, surprised. "I thought you were out with Troy." She nodded, a soft, determined look in her eyes. "I was, but George needs us. I couldn't stay away." Together, they hurried down the quiet hospital hallways toward George's room. Just outside, they spotted David number 5, sitting with his head down, lost in thought. Kate stopped, placing a gentle hand on Alex's arm. "I think it's best if you talk to him alone," she whispered. "My excitement might make him back away again." Alex nodded, understanding. He approached David number 5, who looked up with weary eyes as Alex sat beside him. David shifted uncomfortably. "I can't bring myself to go in there," he confessed. "I thought I could do it, but it's hard." "You've waited so long already," Alex replied quietly. "Why not now? You had the chance to tell us before, but you held back." David sighed, looking at his hands. "I've spent so many years hiding this part of me. It's not easy to change." "It's better late than never," Alex said gently. "He's right there on the other side of this door, just a few steps away. Isn't it worth taking that chance now?" After a long pause, David nodded and slowly stood, facing the door. Before he went in, he looked at Alex and nodded toward Kate, who stood watching, her eyes misty. "Take your own advice, Alex. You still have time." David slipped into the room, leaving Alex standing with Kate. Seeing her eyes filled with emotion, Alex realized the truth in David's words. He walked over to her, his heart racing. "Kate, he began, but she stepped forward and kissed him. Surprised but relieved, Alex wrapped his arms around her, knowing that some things in life were worth the risk, no matter the complications.